Good evening, everyone, and I'm starting the Budget Committee meeting this evening, January 9th, 2025. This is a special meeting this evening, and I'm going to have the roll called.
Liz Costa,
Present.
Karen White,
Here.
Lauren Schler, sorry.
Here.
Katie Knudsen,
Here.
Julie Hammond,
Here.
Sierra Dolce,
Here.
Catherine Consalvo,
Here.
Christy O'Clair,
Here.
Sue Sherman,
Here.
Sabrina Albert.
Here.
Okay, could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to take a moment of silence for the 39th President of the United States, who was put to rest today. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next, we have the approval of minutes for December 26, 2024.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Motion made. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second. Any discussion? Any errors? All those in favor? Nine. Opposed, abstained. One. All right. Before we start, we do have some correspondence. So let me see. The first one is from Marianne Springer. Dear Budget Committee members, I was highly disappointed and very frustrated with your final decision at last night's meeting. Mr. Kruger has already renegotiated the transportation contract for a savings of $95,867 in fiscal year 26, as he explained at the beginning of his administrative report. Dr. Martin also indicated that the $10,000 for grounds and facilities rental reductions was manageable. You did not even reduce the previously submitted budget by those admittedly small amounts. Further, you opted to keep the most conservative estimates for all projections rather than making at least some reductions. Mr. Krieger's Justin, options provided specific areas to reduce the budget by some amount between $700,000 and $1.1 million in cuts without affecting services to students, CIP, or personnel in any way. Thank you to the 4 Budget Committee members who recognize that concerned taxpayers need this committee to provide concrete reductions from the originally proposed budget, and who therefore did not support the motion to move that original budget forward. Sincerely, Marianne Springer. Second email I received was, good morning. The Budget Committee representative from Danville is telling residents that the music transportation line has been cut by $18,000, and there won't be any money for the band students to attend away games. I see the music transportation line there is $17,100 proposed for 26. Could you please clarify this at your meeting this week? So normally I don't, but I'm going to ask the business administrator to address this, so it's out in the open.
Can I ask a clarifying question before Maria begins? Read the beginning of that email again.
Good morning. The Budget Committee representative from Danville is telling residents.
And who is that email from?
Laura Millette from Plastow.
Okay.
Yep, it's correspondence. We need to put it into record. So Maria and I spoke, and I'm asking her to clarify the $18,000 where it was shifted.
So this also came as a right to know last week. from another resident. The music budget was not cut, as you all probably remember when Kurt presented his budget. He reallocated those funds, and the reason why we don't need those funds anymore is because the band and the students involved in music are not doing as many trips as they used to. So he reallocated those funds to other needs, more instruments and the repair of instruments, other needs that he had, instead of asking for additional funds. So it was a reallocation in the music budget. It was not a cut in the music budget.
Okay. And the third email that Maria received and I also received in my email at about 5 o'clock this evening is from Mr. Downing. BudCom members, I'm again writing this committee to implore the members to use this last chance tonight to show the taxpayers you represent that you care. Taking no action to lower the proposed budget on 12/26/24 was a statement to every taxpayer. That statement will be perceived differently by everyone that was listening. A proposal was made to approach all department heads and ask them to find a percentage of cuts to make and bring it back to the BudCom. A proposal was handed to the Budget Committee from the superintendent. Many proposals were suggested by community taxpayers. All were ignored. No action equals the taxpayer will be heard making a statement on 2/6/25 at 7 p.m.
Who's that from?
John Downing,
John. From, where is he from?
Sandown. Okay. Next, we have delegates and individuals. First up is Mr. Springer.
Sit here.
Absolutely, sir. Come on
Thanks.
down.
So thank you very much, Ms. Costa, for reading that letter from my wife. That was my main assigned mission this evening.
You're a good husband.
Well, she's an amazing wife. And the thing that I want to just speak upon a little further to underscore is that she's a heavy hitter. She has experience, education, and knowledge that is deeper than most people in this room, respectfully, and on the school board, respectfully. And I don't say that lightly because we have a tremendous breadth of experience and knowledge here. However, for her to write a letter of this tone is noteworthy because of what I have just said. So I may have my detailed information a little bit off. So please forgive me if I don't have the same level of knowledge that she has on this. However, it appeared to me that it was requested of the superintendent to provide suggested cuts. He went to the effort of doing that I think there were 6 different versions of that. And it would appear that none of them were truly acted upon. May have the numbers off a little bit, but I think we had about a 17% increase in our school budget about a year and a half ago. Is that about right?
A year and a half ago?
Well,
Sorry.
I may have the fiscal year off, but 2 cycles ago, 17%. Now we're looking at 4.5%, and we think that's a win. It's not a win. We can't do any of the good things that we want to do if we are broke. If you look at the State House this week, they are now asking all of their agencies to cut by as much as 15%. Cut, not just a little increase, a cut. This is serious because, and Ms. Costa, please let me know if I'm getting close to the end of my time.
You have 2.5 minutes
Thank
left,
you.
sir.
I want to be respectful of your time. So, my point is that we can do an awful lot with this budget in a downward direction before we start cutting into the meat. And if we don't take something actionable, if we don't do something truly meaningful in our actions, we are going to get more of the situations like we just had a few minutes ago that was noted, because there are students on Facebook talking about cuts to the music program. In other words, you're going to get unintended consequences because people are so frustrated that the rumor mill starts going. And when we get to deliberative, we're going to have some bad results. I am urging you, find the ways to cut this budget, and don't do it by a little bit, because now we're getting into the gamesmanship that people start seeing because of their frustration relative to, the proposed budget and the default budget and so on and so forth. We need to do a better job. You can hear the frustration in my tone, because I've watched my wife come here for a number of months, and I can't observe any truly consequential actions coming out of this. So please wrestle with this further, a lot further, and give us in the town some. I know people selling their houses. I'm dead serious about that. I know that we've heard people here before talking about not being able to deal with a replacement of the heating system last year because of the wallop they got on their tax bill. Think about that on a night like tonight. We really need to recognize who's paying the bills here. So, thank you very much for your time.
Look at that, and right under, thank you. Mr. Boyle.
I didn't realize it was 5 minutes. That would be even longer. Brian Boyle, Atkinson. I realize tonight this is I guess your special meeting to try and make some adjustments to the budget. So I guess it was worth my while coming down here tonight to this nice warm night. Last year, this district ran on 75, by the way, any numbers I give, I got from the Timberlane website. These aren't my numbers. Camp operated successfully with $75.4 million. That was your actual expenditures. This year, your proposed budget currently, tonight, is $89,643.02. This represents about a 15% increase. What the previous gentleman was talking about was a budget increase, but the monies weren't spent. That's what created, there was a very large budget. That's what created the $16 million surplus that I think everyone in the room is well aware of. I'm here tonight asking the budget committee to take a last-ditch effort because I'm 100% confident this committee could present a budget that's at least $7 million less than the $89,643. Nothing gets cut. Again, everything a year ago was paid and operated for $75.4 million. You have all but I believe 25 of your employees are all part of the collective bargaining agreement. So those cost between $2 and $3 million a year. It doesn't cost an extra $10 million to take care of the pay and benefits of your employees. You also, next year coming in, you have to make a lease payment, which is probably about $1 million. Those are the things you definitely have to do. Adding those things, you're still below 80 million. I'm asking to go to about 82.5 million, which gives you excess money. And you also have the good fortune, which I never had sitting there. Timberlane has approximately $12 million remaining in their lease, which is money solely for the buildings, repairs and improvements. Worst case, if you had to take money out of your capital and your operating budget, you could go into that. So I don't even know what's in your current speech. It's always at least $1 million, between $1 million and $2 million that's in your capital accounts. So again, I'm asking this board to weigh this in, because that's it. When you start talking about $100,000 cut, that's a joke. Let's understand what's going on here. And I want anybody who's at home watching that no staff member at Timberlane should even be given a second thought that there's not going to be enough money to pay them next year. No student should even be thinking that their extracurricular activity, athletics or music, nothing should be cut. It was all provided for last year at 75.4 million. Therefore, if you had 80 or 81, of course you have plenty of money to do that. The school board and the administration have the authority to move money around. If they choose to eliminate something, it won't be for budget reasons. There's plenty of money to go around once you have at least $80 to $81 million. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Mr. Freeman from Danville.
Daniel. Hello, thank you for having this meeting today to readdress the issues. But I just want to make a statement about my disappointment that this board did not take the opportunity to reduce the budget at the last meeting. Mr. Krieger, sorry if I messed up, offered several options. This board is aware of the public's opinion and the request to lower the proposed budget. Not only did you do the opposite of this request by the public, but you also completely ignored or forgot to reduce the budget by the school board's stipend and the reduction in the transportation line that was spoken of the last meeting. And I'd like to thank the two gentlemen before me because they can articulate a lot better than myself about the issues that we are concerned with. And I thank you for having this meeting to readdress it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Before we start, I want to thank the superintendent for calling me to adjust the budget for the school board stipend, and then I tossed in the transportation so that I made sure it was on the agenda. I will also say that I've fielded several calls since December 26th, asking about lowering the budget, asking about projected revenues, and I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and we understand that people are hurting out there. And we need to we're here to reduce the budget for the stipend and the transportation budget. But I also think we need to take a hard look at, is this the right thing to do for our district at this point in time in passing an $89.6 million budget? With that, it's all yours.
I am going to do four things tonight, Liz. First one will be is I'm going to talk about a little bit of the outreach that we're going to be doing over the next course of the next 2 months leading up to the deliberative and the vote. I want to do a little bit of teaching tonight of some of the things I've learned. I've met with all the people, the primary petitioners for the citizen petitions in my office and be able to understand their intent. So I'd like to report out tonight what I've learned through those conversations. I'd like to give an update on the last school board meeting and an important vote about them developing a future warrant. Then wanted to make sure that we all understand the dates of the calendar as the budget cycle continues after tonight. So for number one, the outreach, I reached all the Board of Selectmen as of today. And I'm looking to schedule time for both Maria and I to visit those towns separately. Before deliberative, I've confirmed at Atkinson on January 27th, and Maria and I are also confirmed in Pollard, in Plastow on the 24th of April. And I'm still awaiting confirmation from Danville and Sandown. We're looking to build on that fall visit to the towns and be able to talk through the budget process, default, and also warrants. One more opportunity to advertise with the towns in terms of what's upcoming for the deliberative and for the vote. We're also going to be visiting all the PTSAs and PTOs and PTAs at all of our schools. So if you're interested in attending some of those, we'll have administrators at those. They're going to walk people through the same thing, the budget, the drivers, the reductions, the default, and also some of the warrants. So if you're interested in attending in that forum, which is certainly a little bit smaller sometimes, reach to your schools and be present at those meetings in January and February. And then lastly, I've been requested to meet with the Timberlane Music Association. I'm going to be meeting with their representatives on the 30th of January. And I should also advertise that we're also open to meeting with any other organizations, clubs, individuals. Maria and I have spent a lot of time over the last month meeting with individuals in the office, with groups of folks, phone calls, and individual meetings. We highly encourage people to continue to reach the SAU. Was that 5 minutes?
You're up.
Stop the timer, sir.
We highly encourage people to continue to reach to us. We are the folks with the fact-based information, and we'd like to be able to continue to provide that for the community. Secondly, going to the citizen petitions. I'll start with the lease purchase agreement. So we all learned something at the joint meeting in terms of the intent of the petitioners. I had an opportunity today to meet with 2 primary petitioners to re-clarify their intent. So again, wanted to be really clear, the way the article is written right now would trigger the clause in our contract with in terms of default, but that is not the intent of the petitioners. They are not looking to be retroactive to phases 1 and 2 of the lease. What they are looking to do is to pump the brakes and to not allow the district to appropriate money moving forward for future phases. So those are 2 distinct things. There's an intent and there's what the language are. We talked today about some of the ways that they could correct that so that the warrant would more reflect their intent. The most expedient pathway to that is for them to submit another citizen's petition that is very specific with the appropriation around future phases and is not rescinding or terminating phases 1 or 2, and therefore the district is not subject to those penalties and liabilities of being in default. The second was around the tax cap. I met with the primary petitioner for them as well. And similar to the lease agreement, what I learned in that conversation is that the intent of the petitioner is not reflected in the current language of the warrant article. The current warrant article, as I've been very clear about, tax caps the entire district budget. That's the operating budget plus all cost associated warrant articles, which would of course include collective bargaining agreements. As I met with the petitioner, the primary petitioner, that is not their intent. Their intent is to simply place a cap, a 2.5% cap on the operating budget. What I have found through my research and in my contact with the district's legal counsel is that there is not a legal way to only tax cap the operating budget. So we're going to continue to engage with those primary petitioners and try to clear up that conversation, but that will be a conversation at deliberative about what the voters are actually going to be voting on. The third petition article was about rescinding and terminating the board's ability to retain up to 5%. Again, when I met with that primary petitioner, their intent is not reflected in the actual language of the warrant. The intent of the petitioners is not to zero out the ability of the percentage, but to simply, again, pump the brakes and decrease the percentage that the board's able to retain. I provided some information to those primary petitioners about how they can amend that on the floor at deliberative. So the language that's put in front of the voters is actually intent of the petitioners. That kind of recaps the 3 things I've learned talking to those 3 groups. At our last school board meeting, moving into number 3 here, the school board voted and will be developing a warrant to put on this year's, in front of the voters this year, that will look to amend the Articles of Agreement. Specifically, they're going to be looking to extend the grade level served from grades 1 to 12 to grades kindergarten through 12. They're developing that language now. I expect to bring it to public hearing on the 16th. And lastly, I would close with the 2 most important dates coming up. We've got the public hearing on the 16th next week. We're going to see everybody there for the public presentation. Then we also have the deliberative session at our annual meeting at February 6th that we really encourage people to come up and be actively engaged in their community. Liz, I'm going to close with 2 things. One, I want to reiterate that please reach out to the SAU here, both Maria and myself, if you have questions, need clarifications, not just this board, but members of the public. And I'm also going to ask Maria to speak a little bit about what some of the delegates and individuals raised this evening, specifically about what is the impact of carrying that fund through the years and what it may be, what impact it may have for us in terms of cash flow.
All right. I have a question
Sure.
for you. What were the dates for the public hearings for the one we had to do the public hearings, one in each town?
The dates for the public hearings for the tax cap warrant
Yes.
article again are February 11th is at Danville. February 13th is in Atkinson. February 18th, Sandown North. February 20th is at the PAC, and that will be here obviously in the town of Plastow.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we're good.
So, as Mr. Krieger said, I want to make sure that the understanding out there for two things is clear and is well known. The first thing is the way taxes are calculated in the state of New Hampshire is the Division of Revenue, the Department of Revenue Administration. They take the total voted budget, which consists on the proposed budget plus any warrant articles that passed the prior year. That's the top line. Then they reduce that line by the amount of the unassigned fund balance and any expected revenues. In this particular year, the voted was almost $92 million. We have an unassigned fund balance of almost $17,000, the 17 million, and then we anticipated revenues of about 3 million. So right off the top of that $92 million budget, the DRA cut $20 million. That leaves us with $72 million in cash that we're gonna receive between adequacy aid and the taxpayers. As Mr. Boyle and a lot of our residents had brought up, last year we operated with $75 million. We are gonna receive from the taxpayers and the adequacy aid $72 million this year. That's the cash that is guaranteed that is coming in. That leaves us on a shortfall of $3 million if we compare it to last year. Obviously, as I have said before, and you all have experienced at home, things are not costing the same year over year now. Nothing costs the same. We have the salary increases for all of our employees, which are contractual increases that voters have voted for and have passed in all the warrant articles that have been presented to them. So that $75 million that we spent last year, most likely, we're not gonna spend the same this year. It's gonna be higher. The guarantee revenue that we're bringing this year is $72 million. That is from taxpayers and adequacy aid. So I want people to understand that concept. Because if we lower the budget, if we lower that top line, this year, when the DRA goes through the tax calculation, if that number is lower, the unassigned fund balance that we have, the $16 million, is gonna carry, my projection is for about 4 or 5 years. Because the unassigned fund balance is not what is left at the end of the year. The unassigned fund balance is beginning balance, which is the last year ending balance. So the almost $16 million is our starting point this year. We take that number, we add revenues received throughout the year, we subtract expenses of the year, and then that is your unassigned fund balance at the end of the year. So that $16 million is gonna carry us over. That number is coming right from the funding that we're gonna be receiving. That's not money that is in the bank. We don't have $16 million in the bank. A portion of it is cash, is assets, and it is, but it's a portion of it. Because again, it's just revenues minus expenses.
So Liz, just important for us to highlight, I think the one takeaway there is the unassigned fund balance is something that carries year to year, and it's a continuation of a process, and it has a direct impact on the next year in terms of what the import for revenue is going to be, which will then have a direct impact on the cash flow of the organization.
Okay.
So again, we do have the reserve in the bank. A portion of that is a reserve that we have in the bank, but it's not a reserve that if we are in a deficit of $4 and $5 million a year, it's gonna carry us further. So the issue is a cash issue. And if we run out of cash, the state is not gonna come and give us more adequacy aid. We have to go back to you taxpayers, or to us taxpayers, because I am taxpayers in this town too. We have to go back and ask for more taxpayers' money. So it's a balance challenge that we have here. It's not that we want to inflate a budget. It's not that we're putting things that we don't need here in the district. I understand, like I said, I'm a taxpayer too. It is extremely hard. I know it's hard for most people that are residing in these 4 towns, but then at the same time, we have an obligation with our children. So I want everybody to understand that that is the challenge that we face here on the other side, the cash management. Because if we run out of cash, we have to go back to taxpayers for cash. So that is a notion that I know is confusing. Most people don't understand or don't know. That's how it operates, but that's how the state of New Hampshire funds public education.
Maria, you mentioned earlier that the PAC drew in a lot of revenue this past year. Like, how much revenue did that bring in?
I'm sorry, the
The
what?
PAC?
Performing Arts Center?
It wasn't a lot.
No?
No.
Oh,
Matter of
It-
fact, it's almost flat.
That's
Basically, matter of fact, we're not even appropriating all the costs associated with the PAC to the PAC.
Right.
So yes, we have functions there, but it takes care of some of the cost of the PAC.
Okay.
What I have probably mentioned before is the year that most revenue has been brought by the PAC.
Yeah.
Because since the PAC was open, it never actually generated enough revenue to cover most of the expenses. It's probably, last year was the highest revenue coming year, but it's, correct me if
It was
I'm wrong,
$1,000.
Yeah.
It was
well,
like
net.
$1,000 difference.
So the highest for the PAC, but it's not a big source of income.
Okay,
That would conclude our admin report.
wonderful, thank you. Next, any reports of budget committee members of the school board?
No, I just want to say that our administration team has been really good about being available for people to ask questions. And then I really encourage the public that if you have questions, that please reach out, that they're more than willing to sit down and answer. So I just appreciate you guys for doing that like you've been doing.
Thank you, okay. I guess the unfinished business is the new business of the transportation budget in reducing that by
$95,867.
God, you are on it, thank you.
I'm ready.
I have too many emails here.
Liz,
Yes,
let me wrap my head around this. We had a presentation on the 26th of December, the day after Christmas. We all were here.
yes,
Our administration worked really hard to give us some options. We listened to those options. I thought we had a healthy discussion about those options. I don't think we just ignored anything. We had people here, we asked Sandy Allaire questions, Dr. Martin, et cetera. There were good questions asked. And yet, I guess we missed that there was a reduction in the transportation
We did.
contract. So we missed that. So we can fix that
that's what we're doing.
miss, correct?
That's what we're doing tonight. Yes.
That's what we're here to do.
That and fix, have a discussion about the school.
Well, let's
board.
do one thing at a time, because
Correct.
I missed that meeting about the reduction of the stipends, so I hope
Mhm.
you'll entertain some questions about that before anything happens, because we have not restricted reconsideration, have we?
No,
on any
because we're
topic?
not, yeah,
We can, right, there's no
We-
such,
there's no
there's no
restriction
such
at all.
RSA with us, correct?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we need to reduce the budget of transportation by $95,865.
$95,867.
67, oops. I was looking at something else, okay. And what was the cost before? Because
When the cost before
what was the line item?
for
Transportation.
Transportation.
The original, no,
the transportation line is
Was it,
my computer isn't working, so I'll have to grab it now.
is it 456, 279?
No, it's not.
Sorry.
What is it at,
you
like the
Are you looking for the
reduction?
requested?
I'm looking at the requested amount so that we can subtract the $95,000.
it's
from
gonna
it.
come off the bottom line anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna come
Yeah.
out of the bottom line, so if you,
Well, I think we should know how much
Yeah.
it is.
In this original and the 26 proposed, I have
That's-
student transportation being $4,897,391.
Okay,
That
thank you.
includes all transportation, the athletics, special education, everything.
Mhm,
Now,
okay.
if we cut the budget by 95,867, the
Yep.
total reduction of the budget will be $2,278,707 for a total budget of $89,547,136. That's a 2.5% decrease over the prior year budget.
What?
2.5% decrease over 25 voted budget. I didn't put this in your packages because I don't know if you guys are gonna vote for it, so I didn't want to make it.
We're just trying to get that clear in our mind.
You betcha.
Yeah, I
When
just
you-
wanna see.
when you say numbers and-
You can pass them on. Please just take one and.
Take one and pass it around.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so what we want to do, I got one.
89, 643, 298. But the reduction that you suggested was 90, I'll round it up, 96,000
Yes,
off the bottom line of the budget. Correct?
Yes.
We voted 5-4 to make the budget 89 million, proposed budget 89,643,2.98. So we're gonna reduce that number further by 95. I said 96 and rounded off.
95,867,
Is that what we're doing?
yes.
Is that, are we clear understanding?
No, I'm confused. That's why I'm like.
Transportation
We're
savings.
clear on that.
So we,
Hold on. It's cleared up.
so what they're asking to do is change the transportation budget and decrease it by $95,867. So then we'll have that change in that line, and then there'll be a decrease in the total amount of the budget.
By 95,000.
Correct.
Yeah, we're decreasing the budget proposal of 95.
We are, but let's change the budget line so it's correct for when we go in next year to do the budget. It is accurate. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Can I'm just curious, cause we're in contract with First Students and our route as our
Mhm.
route. So where is that 95 coming from?
There was a negotiation between the superintendent and First Student, and he can share more information with that, and that's why.
We renegotiated the contract for the next school year to be more reflective of the services that we're receiving. So I expect that we're gonna be billed that total of 95,867 less than what we're contractually obligated to do.
Is that based on how many routes that we were in contract for this year that they couldn't provide their staff or whatever the situation
Yes,
was?
it's related to that.
That we were paying for contractually anyways? Okay.
So another clarifying, based on the 26th meeting, is this another that we are assuming and we could possibly need that money?
This is a contractual change
Okay.
for the next school year.
Okay,
We are not gonna be obligated to
Not going
spend
to be obligated, okay.
95,867 in the transportation commitment.
So what I would like to do is change the budget line for transportation to reflect
that
the
makes sense.
$95,000 reduction,
Mhm.
and then go in and reduce the total budget, proposed budget, so that all of our apples are in the same cart, shall we say?
so can I just?
Go ahead.
No, I'm just now looking at last week, and I'm sitting here, I'm listening to everybody, I'm listening to both sides, and it came down to what, 24 cents per person, I think, or 24 cents was the number that came out about, like, if we were to decrease these numbers and actually take, well, we did, yeah, that's the thing. We were talking about, and Lisa was doing all the numbers, and we can't get rid of the CIP. We didn't want to do that. We didn't want to get rid of the teacher personal day compensation because we weren't sure what was going to be taken from. We didn't want to take the retirement incentive because we weren't sure. It's just, I don't know where else. So I'm looking at this. Do we want to also propose to take the $10,000 out for the grounds and facilities and be that nitpicky? I don't know.
So,
Okay,
so let's do, I
okay,
understand.
sorry,
You're going
I'm going,
forward.
sorry.
And you're going, and I understand that, but I want to take care of the transportation and then we can go to the next thing. And if there's more
Okay.
conversation, we'll go to the next thing. Sabrina?
I don't mean to go back to transportation again, but do you have a
Sorry.
breakdown for what area was cut by what amount? Like how much was from SPED that we may not have provided, or how much was from our regular routes
This
that we may not?
renegotiation of the contract is all related to regular education transportation.
Okay, so just our daily routes,
Correct.
no SPED, no athletics.
Special
just-
education, no athletics, it's just the regular education
So
transportation.
the total transportation budget, like this, I said, the total is is 4.9 million currently in the budget that is voted. This about
Yeah.
$96,000 will bring it to $4.8 million total for all transportation.
And if you're looking at the particular line for regular transportation for student, it would basically be a reduction of line 100.2721.519. So that's on page 15. So if you want to make a note on that, that's the line it's going to come from.
Thank you.
That is specific line, the regular transportation is at 2.7 million right now. Without the increase, was at 2.8, with the increase will be at 2.7.
Liz.
Sorry, I was looking for
I
the
know.
budget line.
You're fine. So I'm actually gonna make a motion to reduce the budget the transportation budget by $95,867. And we could do the line item, and then I'd like to speak to it real quick. Again, I believe this needs to happen. I know it's only 95,000, but this board and this administration has been really clear on getting our budget under control. And we just redid this contract, and we know we're not gonna spend this, so I'd rather just get it
Get it
down to
done
what it
right
needs to
now.
be, it needs, so.
Right.
that's why I made
I'll
that motion.
second Kate's motion to reduce the transportation line, and you can fill in the language of what line and whatever, but by that 95.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to reduce the transportation line by $95,867. Seconded by Mrs. Sherman.
Yep.
Any more discussion about the transportation line? All those in favor? Unanimous? Okay. Thank you.
So now that brings the proposed
So
line.
now, so I'm gonna ask Maria to tally and let us know how much that is.
So that brings the total adjustments for the budget to $2,278,707 to a total proposed budget of $89,547,136, which is a 2.5% decrease.
I know that when you speak, you add on the percent drop, et cetera. But we want, at least we on my table here, what, the proposed budget's 89,547,136. That's where we're at.
The new
And we have to revote that budget
Yes.
unless we're gonna make some more changes.
No, that's, Liz asked what is the number contemplating this reduction. That's the number
Correct.
contemplating the reduction, yes.
We just made the reduction.
Okay, yes, so I'm sorry, that is the new
Proposed budget.
So, the next thing
We got a 9-0 vote.
Yeah, we
Yes.
are.
Yes, we
Next
did.
thing.
Next, let's move on the bus. Next thing is the school board stipend. At the joint meeting on 12/16, there were some proposed reductions in the budget. And school board rep stated that she would take the school board stipend out of the budget, and what is that, $15,000?
$14,000.
How much?
$14,000. We all voted on it, so we need to take another vote this evening to give that money back, if we so desire, or take it back out, or keep it out.
So the number we received the following week, after you had a motion on the floor, you voted, it passed,
It
and it
passed at the
didn't get
budget.
reflected in the proposed budget that we
Correct.
received
Yeah,
on
that's right.
December 26th, so. Okay, so we're fixing the second,
Yes, we are.
okay, great. So nobody caught that, so now we're catching that, so we need to we have to.
We caught it, that's why we're here.
That's
Well,
why we're here.
after the fact, we caught it. So now we need to reduce that, that
$14,000 more dollars.
by 14,000 more,
Yep.
because you voted that, unless somebody wants to reopen that vote.
Can I reopen that for discussion? I don't know if that's something that we're all
Go ahead.
flub my way through another topic. I don't know, that felt icky to me, to be honest, and I would like to just have more discussion about that since we're here. So
Okay.
that's my statement. I feel like that's weird. That's not our board. I kind of got rolled up into
My personal feeling,
the
and I will state it again, I was not feeling my best. And I think some motions were made out of frustration, and I believe that some of the votes we made were out of frustration that evening. And I would be the first person to say I would make the motion to put that school board stipend back into the budget.
But it wasn't taken out. It's
Well,
not-
I know, but, we had the motion to take it
She
out.
never reduced the budget.
But we have a motion that we made on the 16th of December, so we have to rescind our motion.
Ah,
We have to rescind.
have we checked that with legal?
Well, we can rescind it, or we can check with
Consider
legal.
it.
I feel like since that motion already passed, then what you just need to do is just fix the bottom line dollar for that. That's all, because they've already passed.
The motion, it passed,
Correct.
but if this committee chooses to replenish that stipend, we can make a motion to rescind the vote on the 16th.
Again, I feel like it's already been done, so just fix the budget line item.
Since I gotta think through that a bit, Liz. I'm not a lawyer, but been around this. I do have some experience.
Okay,
Could I offer perspective?
sure.
Yes, you held a vote on that evening to reduce the budget by the school board stipends. You also held a subsequent vote after that vote at a subsequent meeting where you voted on the bottom line budget number. So as you consider perhaps a legal perspective and you look at what is standing, the last voting action of this body is its most current iteration of acting as a board. So if I had to give a recommendation, and maybe a soft one, if you're looking at a bottom line budget number that you now have in front of you, which is reflective of the transportation cost, that bottom line budget number still contains the school board stipends.
That's what I believe.
So I think whatever you need to do, you can do here as a group tonight and correct or recorrect a way forward.
So we either make a motion to take the $14,000 out of the budget or keep it in, and the school board can, decide to take that money out because it is a bottom line budget, it's not a line item budget. So they can decide as a group, as a whole, to not use that money.
Not accept that money.
Correct. So it's up to, yes. So,
May I ask the school board chair? or
sure.
Vice chair, or rep, what was the thinking there, Katie, about that? I wish I'd been here to talk to you that night.
Yeah, so
I
the
apologize.
thinking by that was because at that meeting, we had a couple of motions thrown around of just a flat line. We had already, the administration had already brought a decreased budget. We'd already had multiple presentations with the department heads of this is what our budget is, this is what we need. And then at the joint meeting, it was one motion was made for a $4 million reduction. And during that discussion, I had stated that just to blanketly do that is not right. And that if, the job of the budget committee is now go line by line, like that would be the better way of doing it. That motion failed. People didn't know exactly where to start. I don't know where to cut. I don't want to cut this out. I don't want to cut that out. So my whole intention was to get a place to start. School board stipends don't affect students. There was your starting point for $14,000. I was hoping that we would look at other line items, and I know it sucks, but it's like $50 here, $100 there, $1,000 there. Like if we went line by line, like I'm okay with doing that. But my intent was just, this was a starting point to go line by line. That was the whole intent.
Any thoughts on what you would all like to do? Julie?
I had, and I would be in favor of whatever, whether it's no action that we take of keeping that in there. I think it's tough getting people into those positions. They spend a lot of time. They spend their own money traveling to all the meetings to do a thankless volunteer job. And I think that it's the least that they could do. I would even consider increasing it.
I just want to make one more comment. I never would have made that motion if I wasn't confident in my team on the board. And we are going to lead by example with some of the cuts that are coming down. And if not saying for scare attacks or anything like that, but before a student service, a teacher, anybody lost a position, I'll be damned if the board is going to have any penny from the district. And I know my team would agree. So.
I appreciate your thinking there, Katie, a lot.
You guys work hard. I've sat in your seat
I know you have.
for a long time. And I personally would like to keep it in the budget, but, and you can choose not to cut the checks.
A bunch of people, they donate it back anyways.
I know.
Very few of us, I think, even spend it on a dime. So again, all that was intended was for a starting point. If we wanted to go line by line, that was something that was not going to affect students or teachers or staff or anything. So that was the whole intent of that. I know it was a drop in the bucket for the millions of dollars that we do, but it was just a starting point.
But I think even too, like the way you just spoke and saying, like, I think it should stay in the budget and it should be, people can choose to take it or not. But I think showing that the board is willing to sacrifice too, just that intent, right? Even if we leave it in there, just that intent to me goes a long way, right? And it speaks volumes that the board is willing to do that. But I do agree with, it's a thankless job. It's a hard job. It's not an easy job. And it's not a lot of money. And if people choose to leave it, they do. Then we also sit in here at the same token and we're saying that people are struggling, and who knows who might take a seat at another point in time, and maybe that money makes a difference to them. We don't know, right? So I think, me personally, I think leaving it there, and then, if this current board, they can all afford to leave it, then that's great. But if they can't, if we take it away, it's never gonna be there, right? Because no one's gonna vote it back in down the road, you know, but I think that intent is awesome. It's an amazing thing to say, you know, we'll sacrifice anything that we have to protect our students and our teachers. I think that's amazing. And I think it's been a while since we had a collective board that would do something like that. So I commend you and everyone else who, you know, stood up and gave that option. But me personally, I'd like to make a motion to keep it.
All right, so do you want to make that motion, Sabrina?
I'd like to make a motion to keep the stipends for the school board, and the school board can choose
And I'll
what they do
second
with
that.
it.
All those in favor?
Oh, you need a second. Who made the second?
I did.
Oh, I'm
She did.
sorry, Liz.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 opposed. 1 abstained.
So isn't it?
Oh, Catherine, were you a yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
8-1.
Abstention.
9-1.
9-1?
Yes.
9-1.
Did you abstain?
No, she was yes.
Thank you.
So 9-1.
So it's 9-1.
0.
1-0. So that still didn't affect our bottom line.
Nope, correct. So now,
You're welcome.
is there any more discussion in regard to the budget? Lauren?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to retable for discussion, reducing the budget by $946,000 and $946,075. That would include the pass that the superintendent had given us in our previous meeting in option 1, which covers lines 1 through 10 minus the transportation, which we had just adjusted, and minus the teacher personal day. That brings us to the $946,075.
Can you repeat?
Yeah.
So the 10 lines in option 1,
Yep. Minus the
Minus-
transportation, because we did that.
Yeah.
And then minus the teacher personal day compensation.
So what's that bring the reduction to?
$946,000 or $946,075.
And no CIP.
No CIP.
You meant CIP comes out too, because that's the only way you're gonna get to 946,075.
Can't get to
No, no, no,
946
no,
by
No
leaving.
CIP.
Okay, that's meant pull it out. Okay.
So you
Need
wanna
all of
include the
this
CIP
again.
to take it out? You want to,
No CIP.
no CIP? Leave it. Leave,
Oh,
yeah.
look, I see people like doing this back there.
Is there a spare copy of that?
Yes.
I left my list
I
at
have it on
home.
my phone.
I know the list because my wife made me go through it.
Take a picture of mine if she says.
But some other folks.
So it's health insurance, retirement,
Food
food
service.
services,
Academic
academic resources, professional development.
Can we put it up?
And grounds, yes.
We're gonna put it up
We're
on
gonna
the
put it up on the
screen,
screen.
if that would be all right with you,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
speaking from my experience.
Spreadsheet.
Put up the
I
screen.
mean, I actually have this.
I hope you're saying that with humor, because I didn't want that to come across.
Can I also just say that
I really
we,
didn't.
So let me show, go ahead.
All right,
Go ahead.
humor.
can I also just say that I wanna commend the
have the actual
superintendent and
spreadsheet.
everyone at the
No,
school
see
for
what I
all the
did?
reductions that
So
they've
here's-
made.
I
And
have
I
it
think
in
it's
different
really
options.
Look, I have this.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think
But I have it in
That is
Excel.
here.
I have it literally.
I would say point of order, we still have one person talking.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
I just want to say with this reduction, I think it is an effort where it doesn't affect the students. And it's a concerted effort to hear the cries of the people. And I know it's just peanuts, but it's something. And
It's not peanuts.
but in the grand scheme of
Scheme of
things,
things.
yes. What has been made to sound like from previous people who have spoken, it only runs out to be like $40-some and change with all the cuts, but it's something, and I think we need to move on something. And these options were given and rejected, and I
Well,
think
discussed.
barely,
You didn't think they were discussed, Lauren?
barely.
Well, I thought we talked about health insurance quite a bit of time, risk versus the, what did you call it?
So, risk versus reward kind of thing.
Risk versus.
At the last meeting, I'm going to say this. Christie wanted to make another motion. I cut Lauren off before she could get her thought out.
Speak up.
Then she is now.
I am now.
She is
Yeah.
now.
Can you just please reiterate? So we're saying option one, just the first 9, not including CIP.
First 10 lines minus the personal day comp and the transportation.
So that does not include the CIP
So all of this
either.
would take
No
away
CIP.
two letters that I
Tim,
don't-
can I project my screen here?
I'm sorry, the first
In
9
keeping
lines.
CIP,
Okay, first 9
in
lines.
keeping,
What laptop?
Including
that's what I mean,
Tell,
sorry.
can we have a 2-minute recess so we can fix this?
How can we get rid of the whole CIP? They can't see it in the good discussion sheet, so they can't tell us and how many marks. That's why it's until.
I'm looking to show here what we're doing.
There you go.
but I
There you
can't.
go. Okay, we are back and
Okay, so if I understand correctly, what you're trying to is take 346,165 for the health insurance.
Correct.
Decrease in retirement incentive assumption of 275,213.
Yes.
Food service decrease in anticipated expenses of 112,024.
Yes.
And academic resources for 91,239.
Yes.
Then district-wide professional development, 70,850.
Yes.
Then academic equipment for 40,584.
Yes.
And $10,000 for grounds and facilities equipment.
Correct.
That's a total of $946,075.
Correct.
Great.
I have a question about the health insurance. So I know that we've got a plan going away and then they've got one coming up. Do we have any idea which way our employees are leaning towards right now at all?
No, and we will not have an idea until after the deliberative and after the vote.
Open enrollment is in May, so.
Christie?
Okay. Open enrollment is March or April.
May.
May. I mean, can we shift open enrollment so we have a better idea for budget purposes?
It's up to the insurance companies. It's
Isn't
not
it
up to
up to the
us.
state insurances?
Not our decision-making process.
Not our monkey.
I mean, that would help a lot.
Yeah, it would.
Because I get it. I get your suggestion. I really do. The CIP, I can't.
We're not.
She's not doing it. We're not touching that.
She's not touching it.
Okay,
She-
okay.
She stopped just before that.
I missed that.
We stopped at grounds and facilities.
I thought you said the first 10 and that
That's why I
reflects.
keep getting
that.
First nine.
It's the first
nine.
nine.
First nine.
First
Out of the
nine,
10.
except for, so taking off the transportation, and so that's really 7 lines.
Well, and, right, and no and it didn't touch the teacher professional day, personal
No, the
days.
personal days.
So that and the CIP were not touched.
I'm really worried about putting it in that
Christie?
risky column.
Well, and I hear you guys, but the number that's being thrown around is people want $8 million, right? And they want more than this. And I look at this and, I was really hoping when we came in here, there would be some sort of magic formula to come in and say, hey, listen, we can cut $5 million. With these options, our big ticket items are big losses. It's the CIP. It's the 11 positions, the 16.
It's not the CIP.
No, I know. I'm just saying in each line. Do you know what I mean? To make this significant cut based on these options, there's big sacrifice because those are positions. And I know we're just talking about option one, so I'm kind of, talking out of turn, but those are filled positions, right? So when everybody's saying it doesn't eliminate positions, it will in fact eliminate positions to go with option 2 or option 3.
Or worse.
Right, but we're not going with any of those. Lauren did option 1.
I guess I'm saying this more just for clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because the options presented actually do in fact eliminate positions. And I feel like that's been kind of a not clear.
Right, and when we had this discussion on the 26th, I'm very much against
And I know
cutting
that.
positions.
And I know that.
And I respect what Lauren did because it seems the lesser of all the evils presented here.
Yeah.
So, Sierra?
Can we also just remember that district-wide professional development was all the AP courses? We talked about that too, and that line of 70,000, maybe it's not that much, but that's all of our teachers that need to be trained in order to,
Training for,
for us
That's
to have.
not just the AP teachers.
I
it's about
understand, but
15,000, right?
that's what she,
Yeah,
so
I
we
know
had
it's
taught,
about
we had a
15.
discussion about this too, so if we're gonna go back, that might be a line that we might want to add some money back in and not delete that completely. We talked about that too, so.
Yeah.
Liz, you had a question?
Julie?
Yeah, and to Sierra's point, we did discuss that, and we talked about changing that 70,000 down to 50 to
Mhm.
leave those funds in there for that.
Right.
But to Lauren's point, the superintendent presented us with this. These are numbers that he feels comfortable with, although obviously I'm sure he would like the original budget. And if he's presenting us with these in a comfortable way, he doesn't feel like it's affecting, I'm assuming, the district that much. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr.
Or no.
Don't believe I
Superintendent,
used
sir.
the word comfort.
I'm asking, yeah, clarify.
What I think that I was really clear about is that these would be less conservative projections. And there's a sense of risk when you're becoming less conservative. And I would go back to the risk is the cash flow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So do we think that we'd be able to do this, the things we've presented to you, without impacting staff and programs? Yes. but it comes at a risk. More of a risk than a budget that wouldn't include these reductions or pieces of these reductions, as I've heard some members talk about potentially as an avenue forward as well.
And I would argue that this is the least risky path compared to all the options.
But we do face things like the health insurance and retirement, right? We know that
It's contractual
if everyone,
obligations.
right, so we do risk, if we end up in a cash flow issue, right, and we come in the middle of the year and say to taxpayers, hey, we know that it's not tax time, but we don't have any more money left to pay the bills, what is our plan? Because those are things that and I'm just devil's advocate in here, right? Because those are things that we are responsible for. We are responsible for the New Hampshire Retirement Fund, right? We are responsible for, the health insurance. And, if we're putting these options out here for our employees, right? We can't say, but everyone go this way, because it's their choice, right? And we have no idea what their choice is going to be just because of the way the open enrollment falls, right? So what's our plan if we do end up with that cash flow problem? And do we think taxpayers are gonna say in the middle of the year when we say if we don't have any money because we had these obligations, is it gonna be better or worse, right? Because now nobody's planning to pay money at this point in time, right?
Well, these are projections. Maria, can you elaborate on the projections of those decreases in the first three lines with health insurance, retirement, and food services?
So like Mr. Krieger mentioned, what we do in the budget is we budget for the worst case scenario, right? So the health insurance, they provide us with a GMR, which is a guaranteed maximum rate. It used to be up to this year that they will give us a guaranteed maximum rate in the fall for budget purposes, and then in the spring, they will reassess that rate. Historically, the rate has come lower than the GMR, but we have to budget to the GMR because if in fact it does come to the GMR, then we are faced with a default budget that will not cover the cost of that benefit. This specific year, Health Trust changed. So for 2026, the GMR that they are giving us is the guaranteed GMR. They're not gonna reevaluate the GMR in the spring. However, our district Health Trust is sunsetting 2 health plans that we currently carry. And we don't know those employees that are under those plans, what plan they're gonna choose. So we have 2 increased rates, 9.2 and 12.4 are the guarantee rates. So right now what we did is say, okay, all these employees that are under those plans that are sunsetting, we put them at the 12.4. Again, to be conservative and to assume that they are going with the highest option. If we move those to the 9.2 instead of the 12.4, that is that number.
That's how you calculated that number.
Yes.
And historically, you have they have 3 options, like a low, medium, and high plan, or 2 plans?
We right now have 5.
5 plans,
Mhm.
okay. So when you look at the current membership and the current selections that people have, did you take into consideration how many people tend to lean towards the low, the medium, or the higher cost plans?
We did a whole analysis of who is and where, which of the plans. The plans that we have are fairly different. Like the 2 that are sunsetting are fairly similar. But the 2 other plans that we're gonna start offering, we don't have experience with those plans. They are plans that have a deductible, which the plans that are sunsetting do not have deductibles. So obviously, I'm not in HR, so I can speak fully to the actual plans. But yes, we did look at the numbers. We look at the membership by plan. And like I said, we took the 2 plans that are sunsetting, all the employees that were in there. We're like, okay, what happens if we put like half and half of 9.4? And then we made a collective decision to say, you know what, let's be conservative, because if all these employees choose to go with the 12.4 plan, then we will be at default.
So if you're following along, you understand, like, we were able to solve an issue this year, is that there's no more gap between a rate and another rate. Like, we know the rate. Now the challenge is, because we have plans going away, we've got a number of employees who are going to redistribute to other plans. And not only the different rates in those plans, but what level of that plan. Is there a life-changing event for them where they've had a family and so there's all those variables to consider as well. This is just simply, and I think I gave this metaphor before about a little bit of crossing fingers and saying, hey, when those people make those selections, we're really hoping they move to this plan. And I think the question was asked before, and I think we answered it last time as well. What happens if they don't and we need to get the money? The first stage is we're with the school board, we're partnering with them, and we're looking in the existing budget for it and making a decision to do without somewhere else. And if that doesn't suffice, then we're back to the voters asking for money. And as a superintendent of schools, I'm not going to put the district in that position.
So just for me, if we knew that if we didn't have the scenario where we had a plan going away and we had 2 new ones coming in and we don't know, if we didn't have that and this was more of a, I would be for this, because it's like we've had a couple years or a year and we know. It's who is going to change, who's not going to change. But the fact that we've got several employees on these plans that are going to go away and we don't know, and again, like what they said, there's not an estimate. We know these are going to be the rates. I would say leave the insurance alone this year. And then next year, if we know and we can reduce it, then yeah, that's great. But just there's too much unknown, we're contractually obligated, we have to do this. So for that, I would just say I would leave the insurance alone. That's just me, because of that scenario. Again, if we didn't have plans going out and we knew, I would be more for this, but we don't know.
If we had people on plans, it would probably be
Right.
just a certain percentage of people that might change their plan every year
Mhm.
as opposed to a large group.
Everybody.
Maria, I just had a question. When you did do this assumption for lowering it, did you take everybody that is on those other 2 plans right now and you reduced it before? I'm guessing when you'd done your other analysis, you had some at 12 and some at the 9, and then this is with everybody going to the lower.
To the 9, right.
So, I mean, we could make an adjustment and split that numbers. You're probably gonna have some people go with the lower, some with the higher, and kind of hedge your.
I think it's a
Hedge your bet on
crapshoot
that.
because these 2 plans that are coming in, like she said, are very different. They have deductibles. And if all the plans that they've always been offered have no deductibles, right? Are they gonna even go with either one of the new plans? We have no idea, because who knows if they financially can take a deductible, or maybe they're super healthy and they don't care about having a deductible, or maybe they're not and they can't afford to have one, right? So it's kind of a crapshoot right now because we've never had experience with having deductibles in these 2 plans that are coming in.
If I can make the point that the superintendent had just said that if the money was needed, it could be found somewhere else and he wouldn't take it to the taxpayers.
And to clarify that statement, and if the board couldn't find someone else, we'd have to go to the taxpayers. And that's an irresponsible place to be.
Right. I think there's flexibilities in those projections.
So I think, Liz, yes, so my head starts to go towards, all right, if the worst case scenario and we don't have enough money and the superintendent doesn't want to go to the taxpayer again, and I agree with him, that is really, really not good management. Where then do you start to make cuts? Gee, in the CIP and in personnel and in class size and in program. It just logically falls. You got to make up that money. It's not going to get made up with the school board stipend. It isn't. It's big money. I am not in favor of option 1. I told you that last week. I haven't changed my mind.
Any other thoughts or questions?
Well, can we talk more about Julie's idea of, or somehow change, finagling some of these numbers, that first line and the professional development
So if-
line? I don't know.
So what I'm hearing is possibly cutting that health insurance line to maybe 150.
Sure.
And adding in, making the professional development $50,000 instead of 70. Is that correct? Because I want to make sure that the kids who need those AP courses get the AP, because they may not get into a school because they don't have them.
a lot of scholarships are based on AP
Mm-hmm.
classes.
I know. So
Point of order though, but though
Yes.
that you do have a motion and a second
we do
on the
have a
floor.
motion and a second. So we would need an amendment.
Or she could
Or-
rescind and you could go line by line.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
You're sure welcome. I'm here for you.
This motion.
Let's not fool yourself. Christie,
I apologize, but I actually have to go,
okay.
so good luck. I wish I could stay, but I have an emergency
Let's
at home.
let's move the question then, on this particular amendment, this motion that's on the floor
Okay.
before Christie leaves.
So would you like to rescind your, if she has a family emergency, you have a motion on the floor, and who seconded it? Catherine. Would you like to rescind your motion so we can, or would you like to just take it away
Put your code.
so that we can?
Just amend it.
Make this big cut.
Yeah,
Amend it.
okay, would
Yeah.
you
I don't
like
wanna
to?
rescind, I just amend.
Okay. Okay,
Christy, go to be with your family.
yeah, this,
Yeah,
this,
sorry.
you need to go with
Yeah,
your
I wouldn't
family.
leave if I
It's
didn't
more
have to.
important.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when you say amend,
So we would be reducing the health insurance line to $150,000
instead of 340.
instead of $346,165. And then taking the professional development line and reducing it to $50,000 from $70,850.
So what would the new number be?
700,029.
Say it again.
$729,060.
$729.60.
Yeah.
And that is putting the health insurance line at minus 150 and the professional development at 50.
And your original number was $946.75.
Calculator time.
770.
729. Oh, 60.
Math brain is not working tonight.
So that was Lauren's amendment. Was there a second on that?
I'll second it.
Who was that?
Catherine?
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor,
No amendment.
an amendment to the motion on the floor to reduce the motion to $729,060, which is a difference of $217,015, $217,015. All in favor of the amendment to the motion? All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed? 2. Abstained? 0. Okay, so now we have a motion on the floor to reduce the budget by $729,060, and we have a second to that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any more chatter, or shall we take a vote? All right. All those in favor of reducing the budget by $729,60? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? 1, 2, 3. No abstentions, and it passes. So what's our new number?
Second, computer.
I think this is the number. I think that's right.
Is it 88,818,076?
Yes, that's what I've got.
You don't know.
My computer's right.
I'm sorry, I have
It's
to
okay.
open the files.
It's okay.
So
rush.
I'm trying to
it's-
get it
Get
done.
right.
Yeah, I don't wanna rush because.
It's okay.
nothing comes
Take
out
your
of rushing.
time.
7.6.
Okay, so then the proposed budget will be 88,818,076.
And that's with the 729 taken out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
$729,060.
Okay, so now our new budget is 88,818,076. Does anybody want to make a motion to accept this to put on the warrant?
I'll make the motion to put the proposed budget of 88,818,076 for the 26 school year.
I'll second it.
All those in, any more conversation or let's take a vote. All
Have we
those-
forgotten anything?
Have we? Because I'm not coming back.
Third time's a charm.
Told you, next year, the goal is to have a budget number by Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Alright, cool.
It's the
So if
best
there's
thing
any
for the-
oops.
Best thing for the taxpayer, best thing for the school in terms of planning, and best thing for our students and families.
okay, so all those in favor of the budget of $88,818,076. Seven, all those opposed? Two, any abstentions?
So Christie's not here, so.
So, yep, okay. So it was
7 and
7 and 2. Okay. Any more business for the committee? Oh, we have 2 dates. I think Justin said the 16th of January is a public hearing, and February 6th is the deliberative session. So be there or be square. If there's no more business to come before the board, we'll all see you on the 16th. Have a great night. Be safe.